Hello, my name's Victor Keegan. I've written 4 books of poetry, all of which are obtainable on Kindle and other devices. And I thought I'd just share some thoughts with you. And this is lesson 1, the basics. The first and most important rule about writing poetry is this: there are no rules. There used to be. You used to have to write a sonnet, or you used to have to write rhyming couplets, so every other line uh, rhymed. That's no longer the case. These days, anything goes. If you like rhyming, that's fine. There's a great market for it. If you don't, and most poets these days don't seem to, they just write. Sometimes they write in verse that fits a certain meter, other times they don't. It doesn't matter. So banish from your thought the need to learn all sorts of rules. You don't. Second point is the most important aspect is curiosity. You must be curious. A poem doesn't come at you, as it were, on the road to Damascus. You're walking on the road and suddenly, you've got to write it down. It comes because you're so disposed to write something, or you're curious. You're looking around you. You're looking at fields. You're looking at something you've written, a memory that's come into your head, something a friend's done, a history book you've written, a politician you don't like, whatever. And once you have thought of something to write about, then give it a go. Write it down immediately somewhere so you don't forget it. When you get back home or the next morning, write down that idea and just play around with some words, sentences. At first they can be misshapen. You can always come back to it. The important thing is to get something written down. That's a bit lonesome, but it's the way most poets work, I guess. A way of making it less lonesome and perhaps more productive is to do it with somebody else, perhaps by email. And you can choose a subject, anything at all, and a deadline. It can be a month away, a week away, an hour away. It could be 5 minutes away, like those sort of painting classes where you have to do a painting in ever decreasing time frames. Writing a poem in 5 minutes can be done. You'd be surprised at the results. Anyway, having chosen a subject, that gets out of the way the most difficult thing. What should I write about? The whole world's there. And so you know you've got a subject, and you know you've got a deadline. There's a sense of pride in getting it done on time, otherwise the other person might and you won't. So you then start immediately writing down a few ideas, come back to them, don't spend all day on them. I only spend 20 minutes each morning writing poetry. There's no such thing as a full-time poet. You go berserk writing poetry all day. And if something comes, I might carry on after the 20 minutes. If not, I might give up after 5 or 10 minutes. But once you've got the idea, give it a go and write. And when you've written it, come back to it in a critical mode. Look at the sentence and say, imagine that somebody else you don't like has written it, and you're trying to sort of sub-edit it for them. You're looking for mistakes and look, say, that's too long. That's a silly word to use. Change that word. That line is very too long. That one's too short. Whatever. Just look at it very carefully in a focused way, and just try and improve it. It might be that just changing a word. It might be that you've seen a word in that line, which you could easily change one in the second line in the middle that will rhyme with it. So you've got a rhyme in the middle of a line, which is really nice. So that's that's the basic approach to writing a poem. You don't have to show it to anybody else, but once you've got over the initial embarrassment of showing it to someone, you'll be surprised how easy it is. Don't force it on anybody, but just to let it out there. And on the internet, you can put it out in all sorts of ways. I put a lot of my poems out to accompanying photographs or paintings on Flickr. And more people will probably read them there than they would if you'd published a poetry book. So there are all sorts of ways with the new media to get poems out there, and of course the mobile phone is the best of all, because you can fit a poem onto the front of a phone, and it's a good way to reading it on the tube or wherever. So there are lots of outlets, but for the point of view of this first lesson, the important thing is just cultivate your curiosity, overcome your inhibitions, get down and start writing, and you might be surprised by what you get.